So happy Sunday to everyone. Rain on and off for you, Esther in Palm Beach. Same to you, Marsha. Yeah, we live in Florida. So I get it. Um, so like I said before, as I was saying, we trade from fair value gaps to order blocks, and that's a pretty simple concept. They're really right in front of our face. I mean, we can sprinkle a little candlestick magic in there with it, but it's really simple. So mindset is the thing that we really need to hone in on, and affirming ourselves and what we believe, and reprogramming our brains to like a higher frequency so we can manifest everything that we want, the life that we want, based on becoming full-time traders or full-time swing traders. Either way, you want to make it more full-time. So let's get into the charts and start with our analysis for today. We're going to do a weekly top-down analysis. We'll start with a week because we still have one more week left in this month. And when we come back on in September, the beginning of September, we'll do a monthly top-down analysis so we can really see what the market has done and kind of set ourselves up. So we'll start with the futures, S&P 500 per usual. Let me bring this chat box over here so I can make sure I see it as you guys chat away. And then I'm going to do a chart analysis first to kind of get us warmed up. And then we will go from there to a little bit of news that happened over this weekend. And then I will be relying on you guys to come in with some tickers that are burning desire in your heart to look at, and just drop the tickers that you want to go over together in the chat, and we will knock all of those out. Of course, I always have my watch list that we can go down, but I want to ensure that we're addressing things that you are actively looking to trade, so we can get some good setups for this week. All right, so let's get into the S&P 500 futures. So from the weekly analysis, and I have a clear chart just with the fair value gap indicator on, I'm going to mark off support and resistance. Is it possible that price is going back to correct the gap it created when the contracts changed? Yes, it could be. And I'm right there with you because we're almost right on top of it. You can't really see that gap from the weekly perspective, but you can see it on the daily. So once I drop down to the daily, you'll be able to see exactly that gap. So let's start with, I'll change this lines. I'll make them a little beefier for our weekly. But first, we'll just do our most key level of resistance by putting a horizontal line on the top of this tweezer top candlestick pattern here. I will change it to red as resistance, and I'll make it a dash line for a weekly level of resistance, right? And then as I come down to do a weekly level of support, ignoring the fair value gaps in here and coming to my next order block, which is down here, a nice weekly order block, we'll mark off the top of that order block as a primary area of support. Right? So that looks good for everybody. Just clearing off some nice big area zones. This current weekly candle that we had from last week has blown through this order block. So we'll come into the daily to get the finer tuned key levels of support and resistance from here. But from the weekly perspective, this is what we got: 42.22 support and 46.07 resistance. All right. So now let's come down to the daily. And from the daily perspective, we will do the same thing, looking for support and resistance based off of what I want to say, like significant candlestick patterns and order blocks. Okay, so let's come in here and do we'll start with resistance. So key candlestick patterns will be like tweezer tops, engulfings, areas where we see a true reversal in some sort. So for the resistance here from the daily, I'm looking at the most recent tweezer top to current price, which is at 45.06. and I'll make it a dotted line so we can know the difference between daily and weekly. And so I will call that support there. We'll come down. And so here's the gap that Tandra is talking about. Because it is a gap, it is support, but it's also a gap. So I like to make them purple. So they will be purple to signify the gap. No matter where the gap is, whether it's support or resistance gap, it's going to be purple on my chart. All right. And so then our next level of key support to fill that gap will be the bottom of the gap here, which also aligns with the bottom of fair value gap. I'm going to take the top of the candle stick for now. And when I come into like a smaller time frame, the 2 hour and things like that, and then I'll acknowledge wicks. All right. So we have 42.97 support, which is that gap close. The beginning of the gap is 43.4150, and daily support, and there's some other support up here. We'll drop down to the 2 hour. We'll be at 45.0625. All right. We're all good so far. You know what I want to do actually? I think I want to make this because when I come into the 2 hour, I'm gonna have even more dotted lines. So let me do solid for weekly, dot dashed for daily. Oops. One more time. Dash for dailies, and then dotted for 2 hours. All right. There's no confusion there. Okay, 2 hour time frame. This is where we're getting our day trading setups from. I like the 2 hour. Trader's choice on preference between 2 hour and a 15-minute. So we're going to look at resistance first again. And if I was coming in here, so the first setup I'm looking at is the setup for tonight when it starts and where am I going to trade. So looking at the fact that on the 2 hour price beat up into this fair value gap, I don't think it wants to come into the fair value gap and clear it. I think if I drop down to the 15-minute, there'll be a level holding price right here that we can further identify, and price may want to come down. If it does run up there, it may do a quick wick action potentially, and then like plummet flat down on its face or something like that. To me, I'm not too convinced that it wants to fill the fair value gap up to the top just yet. I could be wrong with news, but we'll look at news next. After I just, but this is just the chart, not putting any other influence on anything else. So with that, we could mark the top of the fair value gap as resistance if you so choose, right? But then I will also want to acknowledge that wick, that longer wick that's poking up, this one right here, because if it breaks that wick, then I know we're going up, right? And then for support, obviously we have a nice evening star down here. So we could acknowledge that if price breaks down. So we could do, let's see, we could ride it down to this level of support, as there is a couple handles in here. If we measure, we got about 17. So I may take that trade down to this level, give the futures a few hours to start this evening and see if I can come in here and catch this on the way down. Then get out and see if it breaks it to then continue down to the gap, because I overall believe that's where it's going. I think it's going to really test the gap, because if I zoom back out to the daily quickly, you see that we're not there yet. We wicked the bottom of this candle. I was able to trade that to most of it. I think I had to hurry up and get out and manage while it was coming back up, because it didn't quite hit and feel me, because that's what price likes to do sometimes. But I was still able to make this drop down profitable, because I knew once we broke this level here, it was going to probably retrace this long candle from the daily, and it did exactly that. But then by the afternoon, price ran back up to leave us with a nice doji pin candle. So what does that pin potentially mean? It could be a continuation. It could be a reversal only time will tell. And I think we'll get a good vibe overnight to figure out what we're going to do tomorrow. But if it does like retrace down a bit, I will take either or. If it wants to come up for the daily fair value gap, I can take that too. I'm just going to kind of wait and see what the futures does tonight. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now. I see mostly like a pull to really test this gap. And then from there, we have to see if we want to fill the gap, right? So I'm going to leave my chart like this because I don't want to overcrowd it. I think this looks nice for a start. And then I know once we break 43.96, I can, which is aligning. Look at how I just love it when things line up so perfectly. So that the 2-hour time frame line aligns up with the beginning of the fair value gap going to the upside. So if we do break that, then I have my daily fair value gap that I can totally play out, right? So if I wanted to, I can come in here and square off the daily versus the top of this daily fair value gap to know exactly where, when I'm looking at the 2-hour, how long I can potentially hold price, because I'm usually watching price action on the 2-hour or the 15-minute. And I mean, that's right to the order block. So break it here, more than enough room to bring it up to the order block if it comes up. 2 good trades. We just need to figure out which way. We just need signals to let us know which way it's going to go from the candlesticks, and then we'll be good to go. For futures, for people who want to trade the future tonight, that's what I'm seeing. Okay. All right. So let's look at a little bit of news because, the world is a catastrophe. We got hurricanes in areas that we don't normally get hurricanes. Like, what's up with that? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So that's like the biggest thing in the news is this hurricane. Bring my browser over here. So we have catastrophic, life-threatening floods with Hurricane Hillary over there on the West Coast. All right, this hurricane looks huge too from this picture. I'm just like, you just don't get. I'm not saying that this side of the earth doesn't get them. You just don't get them as frequent as like this area of there, Florida, the Gulf. It's just not as likely. But lately, when I say lately, I mean like the last 2 or 3 years. California has been getting some interesting type of weather. Fires, they normally get fires. Fires have been bigger. Now they get hurricanes. They got snow last year. Just random stuff that they don't get. Hottest year ever for all of us. I've been burning up here in Florida, so it's hot. This summer was hot to me. So we'll see how these natural disasters affect the overall market as far as like repairs, flooding, and insurance, rebuilding insurance and things like that. We'll take a look out. Outside of that, the only other thing that came across news that's not showing up today is, I know he got to be in here somewhere. Is Trump's indictment or Trump turning himself in for the fort? Well, we'll see what that does too. I don't know. I thought this news was interesting from CNBC, though, that startups are investing millions to make drugs and semiconductors in space. So all eyes on NVDA and AMD if we're putting semiconductors in space. What type of drugs? Who knows? Okay. Who knows? You guys can look at this for yourself to get more in-depth information on it. But I just found, like you're saying, just a glance at the headlines of like, oh, that's different. So we will, I'll do more homework tonight and come back tomorrow for you guys if there's anything else interesting around this topic. But I think right now we kind of have all eyes on hurricane. Looking at Forex Factory for the week. Let me change this around. No, that's the right week. Let's just fine tune it to Monday. All right. All right. So we have no red folders on Monday. We have no folders at all tomorrow. So I would take it slow. We'll just kind of assess and see what setups may be kind of forming with the fact that there's nothing there on Monday. On Tuesday, we have some orange and yellow folders with a few FOMC speakers giving their 2 cents about the market. We won't take too much precedence on how it will affect that daily market, but we may want to just kind of get a glimpse of what they may do next with that news, with those folders. Wednesday, we have 2 red folders, flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI at 9:45. So that will happen when the market's open, when we're all sitting here trading. So we'll see how that affects our market. And we also know that Wednesdays are fun days to trade. So it is great that that is aligning up perfectly. And then Thursday, we have 1 red folder at unemployment claims during pre-market hours. And then Friday, we have 3 red folders. There's a Jackson Hole symposium that I think Esther was shining some light on for us last week. And so we definitely want to take, just be careful. I probably won't be trading because I'll be at InvestFest. It is going to be really hard for me not to want to look at the market and trade though if I'm just sitting there at my vendor booth. But I'm going to control my impulses a bit. But I do think Friday will be a hot day because we have Papa Powell speaking at the same time, along with this Jackson Hole symposium. So hold on tight towards the end of the week, okay? Because it looks like even though the symposium starts on Thursday, it's an orange folder on Thursday with being a red folder on Friday, and I think that has to do with Powell speaking in conjunction with it. So I give you all my blessing that you all kill it towards the end of the week, because I really think it's going to be a highly profitable day if you can make it so. So we'll go with that. So that's going to be the overview for the week as far as Forex Factory goes. Now, let's get into charting some other setups for the week. We can start with SPY because I know Sandra dropped in the chat about SPY. She's now studying her candlesticks more in depth. Congrats, Tandra, on getting your cards because they are really insightful, aren't they? Yes. So let's clear the chart and let's take a look at SPY. So I want to believe, let's come from the weekly. I want to believe that SPY wants to continue down a bit more. I do think that tomorrow could be a bullish candle, but I don't necessarily think it's going to break the trend downward, if that makes any sense. So we have our support, our resistance, sorry guys, our resistance at 44.5722. Let's see. We do have support. The bottom of this order block is considered support. We can take it down to the final one, the lower one, which is right up here at 420. Shout out to 420. Whoop, whoop. All right. And then from the daily perspective, we got a little bit of a gap down here too. So my first theory here, and the reason why I'm leaning towards a continuation, Tandra, is because we haven't finished out this candle yet, as well, in alignment with what you're reading with the current pattern. It just always has to come and test this full first candle. And I just think it needs to finish doing that. So it could be a nice ride down depending on where price starts in the morning to get it to do that. But if it gaps, then of course, we miss it. And that would be.
Yeah, I put that red candle there as a support right there at 431.19.
This one?
Yep. That I put, I haven't
marked. You charted it down below, or you charted it?
I just charted I charted the candle, the body and the wick at the bottom. So
okay, got it. So you charted it as a zone. Okay.
I charted it as a zone to see if it's going to go, because it went through that. I had a zone up above it and it went through that a couple days ago. And so so that's the next one down is the next one that I have down. And then of course that doji fair value gap right there is that next
one. Yeah. Agreed.
But I see how it can possibly go all the way down to 420 because it has a gap down there below as well. I see the 4-day gap that's down at that starts at about 424 down to 421.82. I think that's what I have it as. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of fair value gaps down there you can go down to. But I also see the order block before it too. So that zone, the doji, and then that order block below the doji. I'm saying all of that.
It is, yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm expecting, of course, I don't know if it'll be a reversal or not, but I'm expecting this order block and this first fair value this first gap / fair value gap and order block to hold price up. Y'all think it's gonna pull it all the way back down? What y'all think?
There's definitely gonna be, I think that order block should definitely be some resistance. There should be something. So we will see. This market is crazy right now. So the run up was crazy, and now the run back down I guess we should see it's just as equal. So the run up was crazy, and now the coming down is just as crazy.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it'll hit the support here, 429, and then give us the retreat, because we got to retrace this. Even if we are going to eventually come all the way down to 420, where's our retracement at? We haven't had one yet.
Yeah.
Our pullback.
Yep, just that teeny whatever was happening on Friday. So it seems like OPEX week, Thursday is the move.
Yeah.
It seems like Thursday's the
move.
move.
It just depends on if there was no red folder on Friday. If Friday comes with, if it's OPEX and a red folder, then you could have more of a move on Friday, because I felt Friday was kind of sticky too.
Yeah. Okay. So caveats. Okay. So that's the thing. I'm like, for this to be the OPEX, these contracts are expiring. It sure ain't do. It's just pretty much not doing much.
There was no other volatility.
Right. So that's something to keep in mind. So I guess that's to remember that. Because I remember the last OPEX week, I think Thursday was the day that it did it anyway, and the Friday was not so much either. So last month, if I'm remembering correctly.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are the best. I can check Forex Factory and see if we had a red, but I thought it did a little bit more. A little bit more than what it did at least this Friday.
I'll go back and look. If you want to move on, I'll look back at the date and let you know.
I'm trying to, what day was it? July.
So it would have been the third Friday, the 18th, August 18th.
No, wait, that's what I'm talking about. You said
August, July. Sorry, 1, 2, 3.
No, there was no red folder. So
July 1.
Yeah, there was no red folders either.
Yeah, okay, because I remember the move happened on the 20th.
Thursday, where there was a red folder. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna intentionally look. I was like, do any OPEX Fridays have red folders?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
A food for thought question.
That's right. It could influence some things that y'all thinking.
Because if that's intentionally not putting red folders on OPEX, then we definitely know that we need to clean up by Thursday and be done and just chill Fridays, take Fridays off.
Or get out first thing that morning, because the morning did push.
Yeah, because there was a morning, and that basically what happened to me. I was done by like 11 o'clock because it was just like there was nothing else after that.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. So here's SPY. If SPY were to come up, I guess if it hits this zone and then this area where support zone and come back up, where is it coming up to first? 2 hour. Similar to futures, probably to clear this fair value gap. Which looks like what on a daily? Halfway between this long candle, because this is a pretty big red candle. like SPY was just falling. All right. Yeah. Flat chart, spy chart. All right, come on with the tickers, y'all. What else y'all want to look at?
I'm sure Esther wants cat. I'm speaking for you, Esther girl. I got you. She said, yes, I do. Okay.
All right, let's go to cat. This alert set here, just in case. This was my alert to text you, Esther, be like, Esther, run, get out. I want it canceled. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so funny. So, I actually watched this pretty closely, and I'm not convinced that it's done falling. So I'm actually still in this trade, which is kind of a miracle. Usually I get too chicken shit and jump out, but when we were closing on Friday, I was pretty much, the option I'm in is pretty much flat. It's exactly where I got in price wise. So I wasn't going to lose any money at this point. I mean, I was like, with all the news that's going on, I'm just like, I don't have faith that the market's going to actually run up one day. Everybody was very, very sad towards the end of last week. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So, all right, let's do a weekly review here and see what we got. You guys can start dropping other tickers in the chat as well, and we'll get down the list. Of course, I'll do Apple because everybody loves that one. There's another indicator of the NASDAQ, but go ahead and drop other ones that you want to look at. So, where do I want to put support? I think I'm going to put it at the top of this little order block here, where the fair value gap is. All right, NVDA HD. Okay. So this is weekly support and resistance, 248 support, 285 resistance. Drop down to the daily. I'm with you, Esther. This sucker look like it's trying to fall. Especially when I know you were like paranoid a little bit with these wicks up here, but then it left a beautiful tweezer top. Like, you can't get more confluence than that.
And that is why I'm still in this trade.
I know when you saw that, you was like, ooh, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, might not be ready today, but mama's ready. So when this is ready, I'm ready. So yeah, I'm in a 275 put. So I am in the money, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Nice. So for this
Close.
because these like landed right. I mean, it's wicking in this gap. It's trying. So we take the
Exactly. That's what I was hoping for it to drop to that 270 to actually get to the next fair value gap, right? Where's that 270? Yeah, that's pretty much, that was my target. I mean, it might not get there, but that's, a girl can dream. So, but it could come down there. Yeah. I mean, I only have one contract, but I'm pretty confident that if the market looks like it's going to go tits up, that, I can hold on for a couple of days, but I'm on an airplane on Thursday. I'm on an airplane on Thursday. So I'm going to get out of this trade for that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You have a plan. All right. So I like it. If it breaks it, that is let me mark it from the daily perspective and see what happens when we come to the 2 hour for support and resistance. Let's see. So it just said, like, I really thought she was going to get out because it came so close to that 270.58. But then
I almost did.
I really was
almost
like,
did.
She's going to be out. And then when it ran back up, I was like, oh God, I didn't know. I was like, let me not. I intentionally didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare you out of the trade. I wanted to stick, you to stick to whatever conviction you had for it.
And honestly, I was working on Friday, so I was kind of watching it when I could. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use the force. And the force is just telling me to stay in this trade. Like, I just felt like the market was going up and down. And then the Dow closed like up, like down 2 points, something ridiculous, like really flat. So with the run that it was making all day, I just thought, you know what? I do not see a reason on this chart to get out of this trade.
Good job.
That was my answer.
So that daily line comes up and doesn't really fully finish the full fair value gap from the 2-hour, right? So this is why she's holding a bit, because it should come down just a little bit more. And dotted. And then from my conviction, it should actually close this candle. Like now, that is probably going to be a wick to the end of the long baking candle, right? And that's 269.96, and that's why she's holding firm at 270. Holding firm there. And then once it really gets in there, it may bounce up strong because this wick is pretty nice down here as far as size goes. And then as long as we don't break another level up here, and I'm going to take this 2 candlestick pattern right here, which is the top of this fair value gap. Like if we don't break and hold above 275, 276 at the max, just in case it wants to wick in there, I don't see why we will go up. And there's a lot of resistance from the top here that's giving me like downward vibes on the way this candle. Because I even think this candle, it may run up just to tap this maybe. Because it already put a wick in there and it's pretty much closed. I don't know. Like I can really foresee this candle just coming down next and just keep, making the little up down train, but mostly coming down. And then where's that gap? Daily, where all-time highs? Here it is up here. I'm gonna move this support line just to encounter this wick because I know how things on the downside don't necessarily like to close at the bottom. And I know there's a wick that's in that gap, and there it is, and that's 266. So that looks great. And when I come back down to the 2-hour, where is that? Oh, that 266 is like right at the top of this. So we can actually, this will be a lot of lines on this chart today, but at 266.73 is probably the lowest it's gonna get if it does choose to take out the wick on the low. But I first think it's gonna bounce when it hits 270 and then come back for it. All right, let's move on to Adobe. Should be over here somewhere. All right, Adobe. Now I'm doing video in HD. Come back for it because I know you still holding on to this, right, Sandra? You in a debit spread? Oh, she's hugging a hubby. All right, so let me go over to NVIDIA HD and I'll do Adobe when she gets back because I'm pretty sure she's in that trade. All right, NVIDIA. Okay. Clear the chart. Weekly. All right. I pretty much set a plan for myself that if a NVIDIA comes down to like back to the 400 mark, and I'm gonna see it before it comes, I'm gonna take my money and run because that big gap that it made, I'm not sure how it wants to. I'm just not sure how it wants to play out. So this is the reason why I'm gonna mark this level with a weekly line because I'm protecting my shares and capital when it comes to NVIDIA at 397. I wanted to stay up here. I don't care for it to take this gap, this order block at all. Don't want it to do it. So weekly support is going to be at 468.25 and weekly support at 397.82. Coming down to the daily, just been looking a hot mess bouncing around in between these levels. So we will do a daily support. I already wicked off of here. This is one because it wicked off of here, right? So And this is probably where I'm gonna get out to. If this come back down and break 416, I'm taking my money and I'm running. And I'll buy new NVIDIA shares all over again. Because no, I'm gonna take my profits. If you want another mild recession, no. We're not doing that today, NVIDIA. So support. Let's see, let's keep doing a little bit more support. So I really need to break 404 down here and come back into this fair value gap. And this is the whole order block. And then now we're looking at, you know, it dropping into there, and that's also a gap. So let's take the wicks, because wicks always usually stop price. Wicks within the gap. All right. We'll see how that goes. Then for the top side of resistance, we have this fair value gap here, but I'm not going to confuse it from that. I'm going to look at my candlestick patterns and take my little awkward tweezer top a little bit. And then here's another small gap, but it has to clear this wick. Because that wick is there, I can acknowledge that bottom fair value gap a little bit, but it's really this one. I don't want to crowd it. It's too messy for me. I don't think I like it like that. All right, and then the 2 hour on NVIDIA will be coming back up here and then coming, it'll probably turn around actually at this wick. And then, and I'm nervous when I see this, I know it's gonna slide. So it slid down, slid all the way back up, and then you hit the 2 hour order block, and then you probably gonna come back down with a vengeance and then take out the next fair value gap. So I'm thinking 2 hour support. It could be this tweezer top, but it could also be this one. So it may get a little messy up in here. Depends on how much it wants to pop. It may just leave a wick in this area to clear it. So you can mark it off as like a zone. So this would be the zone, 436 to 438. And then we can come down to support, which is I just know this pattern, so give me a minute. Because I don't even think this is gonna hold like that. I mean, we can put an alert at this line to know when it's coming down. So that's one way to think about it. Like you see this level of support, and then if it breaks it at 428, then it's probably coming back down with vengeance. And then coming into this second fair value gap down here, because this one's pretty much cleared out. So I'm gonna leave it like that. So it won't be too much confusion there. And I'll see, I'm putting an alert up here too. No, I'm gonna take the second one because I want to know. That's a wick. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna use this pen actually. I'm gonna use the underside of that pen as my zone and my alert to keep an eye on NVIDIA. So that's 436 to 437 zone, resistance zone, come back down, breaks 428. I see it really coming to the next area, 416, just depends on how fast it wants to drop. So NVIDIA can move pretty quick. We'll go from there. It's a daily line. We'll leave it. All right. I like it. NVIDIA. And there's actually some decent money in just this slide back down. How much is that? You do it with a put. $11. So there's an $11 put grab. Day trade. It's definitely a day trade. It's an in and out. Like, don't blink, you may miss it. NVIDIA don't play. Sometimes when it really wants to come down. All right. All right. HD. All the fires and hurricanes. I don't know how HD is gonna do. All right, HD. From the weekly's perspective, we got, you're making a flag right now. You're making an order block. Like, ugh. All right. I guess from the weekly perspective, I would be taking this gap up here. Because it wicked at what? 1, 2. So we would need the third time's the charm before it actually came for this weekly gap.
Let me just interject. Tuesday is existing home sales, and that tends to move Home Depot. And that's at 10 o'clock in the morning. And Tuesdays suck anyway, but as usual. But you're right, between the fires and the hurricanes and the fact that the planet is dying. I read an article though last week that said that mortgage rates could go to 8%. If that happens, like everyone's just gonna be fixing up their houses. Like nobody can afford to buy a house. That's insane. 8%. Like that turns your mortgage payment like up by like $1,000. It's insanity. I was reading this article, it's terrifying. So I feel like Home Depot, when it's hard to buy houses and it's expensive to buy houses, Home Depot tends to make a lot of money. So, and they just raised their guidance for the year. So I feel like something to think about. If it could take that gap going back up, is what I'm thinking.
Huh. Yeah, well, we like to trade the rebels of the market, and Adobe and HD can definitely be one of them, depending on what everybody else is doing. Because Adobe right now, HD is not giving me vibes that it's trying to go up or down. So
right.
Speaking of Adobe, what happened to Adobe that morning when it was flying and then all of a sudden crashed all the way back down? How was it up $17 and then crashed by the time the market opened?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. We're gonna go to Adobe next. I was just about to do it, but then I saw you get up with your husband, so I was like, we'll come back to it.
Because I was trying to figure, I'm like, because the only reason I looked at it was you know, CNBC sends you these little alerts and says the stocks that are moving that day, and it had Adobe. I'm like, why is Adobe moving? And then I go look at it like, boy, is Adobe moving, and it was flying.
Yeah.
And I had no idea why.
let's get through Home Depot.
Yeah, get the
Home Depot chart, and then we'll go over to Adobe. All right, so let's see. So resistance at 333.94 daily resistance. That's an M no for you though. I ain't gonna lie. That's like a perfect M. So I think it will have to drop maybe a little. We'll see how this fair value gap plays out. So I'm gonna mark it here and put
if that fair value gap doesn't hold, I think it's going to come right back down all the way to the order block to the next fair value gap.
Right, I agree. This one, so I'll put an alert at 323.70. Tanza dropped some news for you, Tandra, on Adobe. To clear up what happened. You need some fundamentals with Adobe, I ain't gonna lie. Okay, so, and then you're saying clear this order fair value gap, come down to the second one, which is like a messy little, or I'm gonna move it to this line because I have a feeling, because this is the top of the order block. Even though this is the top of the fair value gap, this is the top of the order block, and I already know how it likes to do the first candle out of the breakaway. So 316 as support. And then we just need to wait and see what stance I want to take. It could do well, but is it well enough to take will it be well enough to take that gap? And I feel like it's going to take some time because you got to clear the double top. And clearing double tops don't just happen in a blink of an eye.
No, and you're right. It could definitely go to the downside because I feel like if the whole market momentum is down, HC's just going to jump on that train, and they're all going to ride the crazy train down.
Because you need all of this, you need the interest rates to actually go up before it can move, right? And it's going to do that preparation for the move by coming down, getting more buyers or whatever the case may be before it can even do that. We need to figure out how disastrous, Hurricane Hilly's about to mess up that side of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things still need to play out. So, but we can see the setup. We see it. We see it like setting itself up. Now on the 2-hour time frame, we have resistance. Let me just take this resistance off top of the fair value gap. That could be a nice little day trade there. If it came up, that's a pretty strong bottom, but it's not giving me up vibes. When it wicks too many times in the fair value gap, it's most likely not trying to clear it. It has to like wick it once, leave it alone, then come back, and then most likely take it. And if it falls short in it, then it's like, nope, it's not trying to come up. And then come down. I think I can just kind of leave this bottom the way it is. I mean, if I wanted to put a little 2-hour on this tweezer bottom right here, we can do that and set an alert just to look at how it is overall moving, but that's about it for there for Home Depot. All right, let's go up to, so Tanza has said Adobe was upgraded that morning. When a run-up happens due to an upgrade, it tends to reverse the same or next day because it's simply a reactionary move. I agree. And that's why I was feeling down, because everything about the chart looked down to me. And so I was shocked that it was at the pre-market, but I was like, well, there's nothing I can do because it's pre-market. And then lo and behold, by the time it came down, I was able to take profit on my debit spread because I was in the put and Tanya was in the call.
And so I was in the money while the market was closed. I wouldn't have been, by the time it opened, it had crashed down. So I wouldn't have been able to get out. So I never did get to see what type of profit I was going to have in it because it was crashing. Yeah. So, but anyway, I got to October.
Oh, that's how much time you bought? Oh.
Yes, girl, because we're working on the strategy.
The only thing about these debit spreads, like they do work, but Tanza, when it comes to taking profit, they are like, cause yeah, I'm like, well, am I gonna get, $50? Am I gonna get $100? Cause I can't do any math. So I feel like I'm taking it kind of blind, and then I'm shorting myself on potential profit because the only math I can do is how much profit I want. And it really depends on the move. And if it doesn't move, then I may not get that profit. So I'm going like, let me just take this little bit of money and just run. Because I'm really a big, like, I'm a big level to level person. Like I just I don't really care about the profit. I care about it reaching the level that I know that it's going to take. And I just take profit at that level. It's a little bit of a mind trick for me on these debit spreads. Okay, because I'm just like, I'm definitely shorting myself because I'm like, how do I know? Like, even though I know this level, I'm like, well, how much profit is at that level? Like, and I can't do any math to figure it out, or it's a lot of math. So I'm like, this is painful.
Yeah, when you're getting the order, it gives you your max profit. So I tend to write that down.
Well, that max profit part is easy, but if it doesn't,
yeah.
So I guess I have to ensure I'm taking debit spreads that I have the conviction that it's going to make the max profit, because taking anything less than that is like, how much is it?
I agree.
If it's going to turn around or do something like that. So yeah, a lot of practice. Well, I said, it's just, you should just squeeze in the word. It takes a lot of practice. All right, here we go, Adobe. So I do think Adobe's going to continue coming down to this. And this is why I went down, because I looked at the weekly. So we can just take this peak right here, and it lines up with the weekly fair value gap. And so it's beautiful. We love it when things line up like that. So there's our weekly resistance at 541. Our weekly support at the beginning of the order block, which is the end of the fair value gap, at 490. So I'm probably going to trade this sucker down to 490. If I can hold it long enough. Because it was making me nervous trying to practice the debit spread when it did that dance on Thursday, Friday, whatever was doing it. And so I was just like, Let me just get out and see if the order takes, because I was just trying to get into that habit of like when my order would take based on the price that I am setting. So again, a lot of practice, but pays. Definitely practice.
Did it get you out quickly? I know it takes a long time to get in them sometimes.
Yeah, they take forever to fill. And that's the reason why I was so like, I can't do that because if you get to fill me versus my, my single legs. Like I understand how they work and I understand how they feel. These doggone debit spreads are just like credit spreads when I'm trying to hack out. They take forever to fill.
Okay, yeah, okay, because that's what, because I know it can take a while as well. Mine take forever to try to get in too. So, and I can even see that even when you have the contract price that you're trying to get it can go below that price and it still won't fill you. So it's like, what is going on?
That's yeah, it's a spread. It is acting like a spread because sometimes if you remember doing credit spread, I know you didn't do them as often, Tandra, but for those who did do them, they would take some time to fill too. Like price would bounce around and you're like, why aren't you filling? And so I think it just comes with the nature of the vertical, which is right. All right, so let's do daily support and resistance. So I'm going to take the top of this order block that formed here. And I'm going to take it at the top because this is a gap as well. So I'm going to kind of mark it as such. I didn't even know you could do. Why would you put a black line on? Well, I guess not everybody has a black chart. So I didn't mean to hit that one, but I was just like, why would they have that color? But I like the black. All right. I can do another resistance line acknowledging the close of the gap, which would be the beginning of that daily fair value gap, which is nice. And then I can come down. And this weekly support is just like right in line with where I would put daily support, to be honest with y'all. I mean, it's like right there. So the only other levels, I'm just going to drop down to the 2 hour and pick spots in between there based off of candlestick patterns is what I'm going to do. And we can just ride, Sally, ride all the way down. Now you can come in. Did you think, Tandra, to come in to do the put side at the same time while you wait on the call?
No, because I'll be doing other stuff. So I'll be paying attention. I'm distracted. So yes, I'm thinking about doing a put if it continues to go down. Yeah, so I should do a put, but no, that's not what I've been doing. I've been distracted with other things. So, but yes, I have, so I take it back. Yes, I am thinking about doing a put if it continues to come down. So, let me look at Adobe, because where was I marking that it was going to come down to?
It's going to come down to 490. I'm like convinced.
I actually had a lower. I have it at 480 something. So I actually had a lower.
But the weekly line is at 490. So you could definitely bet on that. And it's just like a straight slide. Let me go back to the weekly with no interruption to that line. See, it's right there. Boom. Big candle slide weekly.
Got it. Okay.
So Randy, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to want to take this trade and ride it down to 490 range, how much time would you recommend buying? Because I'm thinking probably a month.
Yes.
I mean, it's not going to take that long, but yeah.
I would just for that 2. I would follow Tanza 2.
Okay.
Potentially, because that theta eats up Adobe fast. I ain't gonna lie, y'all.
Right.
And if it retraces within the movement down, which it will, because you have so many wicks down here. How much money is it though? Hold on, let me measure before I say that. All right. $17. We know Adobe can do that in a day, but it's the problem with it is it's overnight moves, and if it wants to just be choppy for whatever reason. That's like my only reason why lately I've been buying a bit more time on Adobe myself, is because we know it can move like $17 in a day when it wants to move $17 in a day, but when it doesn't, it'll stop at around, it'll average out, 5 to 10, and your candle will be short. So yeah, it's just you need it to like move. So at least a month. You can probably get away with a month, but just hold on with theta. So next level support I have coming down is 502, and then from there, I took the bottom of the tweezer at 459. Do I think these wicks may do something? Maybe a little, but I don't think it's gonna be much. And then it'll be coming down. Once it clears these wicks, it's gonna come right down to 490. Beautifully done, and then that's the bigger area chart right there. So I would just watch it, in these little levels within there if you think you want to put a few more in there, but those are like the main two that I'm gonna look at. You can obviously just ride it one at a time. I'm a level to level girl. So ride it to 502, get out, ride it back down to 5, or have multiple contracts and cash out each contract on the way down. However you want to play it, whether it's with a debit spread or with a single leg. It's a pretty nice ride down looking at it. I see the wicks, but it looks like it could be pretty straightforward ride down. I ain't gonna lie.
Especially if Papa Pal decides to ruin everybody's day towards the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Companies like Adobe, it can cost them a ton of money to carry debt, right? So interest rates going up is not good news for anybody like that. So tech companies seem to take that pretty hard.
And it already closed. I mean, even though this is a green candle, I'm not really caring about it. The candle itself has closed below the previous low, so I would assume that it'll come out. Now, will it come up and take this gap up here first? Possibly, because emphasis on the possibly, because Adobe lately hasn't been doing its Adobe gap moves like it usually has been doing. So possibly. But that's so small. So it would be a scalp if it did it. But the fact that the fair value gap is like starting here and here, fair value gap itself may hold it down. All right. Well, I'm thinking puts on Adobe. I'm thinking a run like hell on NVIDIA. I'm thinking Adobe needs some more time to cook. So wow. So California is getting, there's a lot. A magnitude 5 is a lot. Tans, did you feel that? Like, because sometimes you can feel it through the state. I know when DC had its earthquake years ago, they felt it in Massachusetts. That's scary. She's not feeling anything. No. California wants. Yo,
Are you seeing that? I'm like, okay, so I'm in here trying to watch a track meet, and I have henna in my hair, and I'm listening to this call. Where are you seeing about the magnitude 5? But we don't feel really anything if it's down in Southern California because I'm way up here. I'm 5 hours away in Northern California.
It's just breaking news on CNN.
Well, okay then. Well, maybe I need to pay attention. A lot of times it just feels like a train is coming by, like where it'll be like little tremors if it's only a magnitude 5. But if it's down there, I won't feel anything at all.
Okay.
So I feel nothing.
I'm just curious.
I'm gonna go back on mute now.
Thanks, Santa. Tandra, I see California doing the next like Brexit. Like they want to be separated from the United States. Just cut itself off the side there and be its own little island.
Right. It's just gonna be like, we're gonna be by ourselves. Just we can't take it no
Got our
more.
own crazy tax laws and all of our crazy weed growing and all. We just want to do what we want to do. Leave us alone.
Yep. Yep. They're doing a new version of Woodstock.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Do y'all have any other tickers in the crib that y'all want to drop in here and look at? I'm gonna go to my watch list and look at probably Apple, Amazon, and who else do I may want? I'm not gonna do too many. It's after 6 o'clock, so we want to be wrapping it up here. And we can look at Lily. Let's do Apple, Amazon, and Lily. If you guys have nothing else to drop in here, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll see you lovely ladies tomorrow morning and see how that earthquake shaked everybody up. Hopefully no mudslides. Oh, Netflix, you want to do Netflix? That's fine. I'll do Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Lily. We can try to get through it quickly. All right, I'm just going through and charting because I think I have explained over and over again how we're doing it for this call. So I always start with how to chart and how we're looking at the chart. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So on the weekly, I got resistance at 195. I have support at, I guess I can take this one. I like this one better. I ain't gonna lie, I like this pin, but I got 2 pins here. So there's technically 2. We'll start with 172 as the first one. All right, 170, let's do that. And then we'll come into the daily and we'll do resistance at the gap. And then we'll do support. That weekly line is right where we need it to be, but there's a gap right here as well. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it starts here and it ends here. So we'll do gap ending at 165. And then let's see. We can come down to the 2-hour on Apple and see if we have any day trading moves. Apple look like it want to come up and take this upside. It does look like it wants to do that. Ain't gonna lie. 176 is the high. This first small one that had wicked it. I wonder. I don't know if price is gonna turn around at this level. I have a feeling they may want to come all the way up. I ain't gonna lie. 175. Let's see what it does. And then if it hits that, because it's only $1 away, I could take it coming back down. If it's truly a reversal, if it's truly going to reverse at that level, and then support at, I'll take the bottom here because I'm going to ignore this small fair value gap. It's so tiny. So that's 172 on the 2-hour. Oops. I want to change the color. What else is back here? So it really just needs to clear 170 if it's going to make any type of major move further down to the downside. And in the interim, it may clear out some liquidity while it prepares for that. That's how I'm looking at Apple right now. So it'll probably trade in this range of 176 and 172 until it breaks a level. It's kind of how I'm looking at that, because the next order block on it is up here beyond 176 and 177. Amazon. Let's clear all this jazz off. From the weekly, top down, always gives us a better bird eye view of what we can do. So we got resistance, 141.27. unfortunately, support for me is all the way down here at 109 because I'm not sure what this is going to do. I can mark it. There's just like a little gap here. So we could do 2 weeklies because here's my good pen on the weekly. So that's 122.18. And then the next one being all the way down here at like 109. I promise you, if Amazon gets down to 109, I'm buying all 100 shares. And because I got out of my position because I really do feel like this thing is going to drop quite a bit, and it's really coming down. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from the weekly perspective, Esther, like if it clears through this order block chop-ish area right here between 122, there's nothing but momentum all the way down. And if it does like a slight recession type of move, I mean, they just wick from the W at like 113, but either way, I'm not losing my profits on Amazon with Amazon shenanigans and stuff like that. So I'm gonna see. I would expect price to hold above 122, but we'll see with this mild recession that they're talking about, because that will be a mild recession. Back to the neckline of the W would make sense to me. Just saying. So on the daily, we have support. Obviously, it looks like it's trying to come down and finish this gap. It's a gap on gap situation at 130. And then we have that's support. And then from there, it would need to come and clear. So I'll just wait. I'm gonna put an alert here and see what it does at 133. Obviously, we have all these little candles down here. So the next, support will be right at the bottom there. And then we'll see if it just wants to blow that out, but below 127. Coming up to the top side, resistance is really all the way back up here. Key resistance, I would say. There's a little bit of a gap there. Of course, we have this gap here. I'm gonna come back down and acknowledge the gap. Amazon is doing some interesting things. So here's a gap. And the gap close. And then on a 2 hour, I've just been looking at Amazon like, what? So yeah, and it wicked up here, so it may wick back up here, clear this fair value gap. It's like right in alignment with the order block on the 2 hour 135. There's the top of the order block. Not the color landing, dotted line. 134.75. And then I think it may come down because the rejection from the top is quite strong to me. And then you have all of this still big candle to come back down because it is in fact a gap. So I can totally see it coming down to 130. I can totally see it finishing it out at 129. So I'm all puts on Amazon, like for show. For show. And then we can take a glance at LLY and NFLX, and then we'll do one final view of the futures before I let you off, since the futures has started to move. All right, here's Netflix. I'm trying to stick to the time clock here. Netflix looks beyond interesting. Esther. Oh man, I don't know when Netflix won't come up and finish this. Don't know when, but right now it looks like it's coming to the neckline of the bat pattern. And that's totally normal and fine because this rejection from the top is strong, plus it's aligned with earnings. So we're gonna you can put 2 levels of resistance, one at 445.76, and then another one at the wick at 485.44, right? And then we can come down for a major support at 378.97 at the neckline and acknowledge the gap. It's a weekly gap, right? So expect a bounce if it's not already happening at 397.20, right? Come down to the daily, the bounce, like I said, already happening. It cleared the order block. It came to the bottom of the order block. So I expect it to potentially pull back up through both of these fair value gaps to the time line because they're right on top of each other, up to 421.29. So that's a nice trade there. If it can go back up to the upside, we'll check the 2 hour to see how far up it can go before it may want to come further into this area and test the gap. The daily gap starts at 391, right? At the same weekly gap close, right? And then coming down to the 2 hour, it may get stopped out. So the price does look like it's going to come back up to retrace. It's pretty much filled this fair value gap. I'm not sure what I want to read on these two candles right here. Kind of looks like it is kind of making like a hook type of situation. So we have 410 for the first revisit. And if it clears it all the way up, trying to come back to the 2 hour order block, then we're coming up to 413 before possibly coming back down, because I don't know if it wants to come all the way up to 421 now that I see a 2 hour order block, right? And then it may want to test the gap again at 397. So set your alerts if you want to write it down. Well, I will wait for it to come up and then do a turnaround, and then you have a better trade coming down to test the gap down for Netflix. Is how I'm looking at it. And this is a long candle, and that first level that I marked on the 2 hour is about 50% through the bacon candle, which is pretty consistent. So there you have it for Netflix. Netflix got to pull back up some. Got to. Before it comes back down for this gap. I could just feel it in me bones. All right. So Netflix, and then I said Lilly to throw a little healthcare in there since we're so tech heavy. So Lilly is still trying to climb to the moon. So maybe because they're trying to put diabetic and Alzheimer's pills in space. And wonder, does Eli have to do any of these drugs in space? We need to figure that out. So, because if so, then, it may just keep going up and up and up and up and up. So weekly resistance, we got to take the candle for where it's at right now. I don't love it there, but so be it. Support obviously will be at the bottom of this fair value gap and top in the order block from the weekly coming down to the daily. That includes the gap. So we will mark the gap as support. I'm going to leave the weekly resistance as so. I'll kind of make it match this wick. Kind of leave all of that. And then we can mark another level of support right at this little tiny order block right here at 520, right? And then there's not really much to look at on the 2 hour. There's a small, little, tiny gap right there. But I think I'd rather look at it on the 2 hour to see where we're at. Yep. So support here, 532. We need to come clear this wick. And bada bing, bada boom. We'll see if it turns around up here at the top or blows through 533 for Lilly. And it may just blow through 533 because Lily's another rebel that's going to do what it wants to do and be like, hell with all y'all. I don't care what y'all want to do. I'm making drugs out here. So yeah, sure. Why not? All right. And before we leave, let's look at the futures and I'll let you guys go. So here's the 2 hours of the futures is starting. I just go straight to the 2 hour because it is in fact moving and we already charted it. And so it is moving up. If it caps, like I said, this level at 43.96. It's coming up to it. There is money to be had just as it wants to retrace this wick. So if it comes back up to it, you can scalp that if you want. There's like $9 in there. And then if it closes above it, then it's probably going to potentially close the daily fair value gap. What was that daily? No, it's going to come halfway through it. Take that back. I'll have to look at my levels. 44.06. So yeah, because the close of it was up here. I need to mark this. I'm going to label this one because it's just going to drive me nuts tomorrow morning. Sometimes I have to put labels on my line. Daily. Oops. FEG. Like, I guess it's the close. All right, because I'm always looking at stuff on the 2 hour, especially when it comes to the futures. So we'll see. It is kind of pushing up at the moment. Not saying it can't come up here. We just have to see what it wants to do. I'm really waiting on it to break the 43.96 line before I go bullish with it. Other than that, I will want to stay bearish. Monday's going to be slow, just to recap. Monday's probably not going to be the best day to trade, but we'll come in here and we'll look at how the market is planning for the rest of the week and kind of go from there, because they know that we know about Jackson Hole and Papa Powell speaking next week and everything else. So we'll see what the setup is going to look like and how things are going to move for us. But it's a very slow start. Usually I don't enter until about 8, closer to 9 for the futures. Take a look on the 15-minute can kind of help your conviction on which way price is going to go. So we have lows getting a bit higher here. But again, this rejection wick is the full test. I do believe it can retrace it. But to me, if it doesn't break it and close, it's going to just come down. So just be wary of that. I appreciate you guys as always. You guys take care and have a great Sunday evening. And I will see all of you tomorrow. Bye.